And welcome back to another episode of the Office Dynasty League podcast. I'm here with my boy, as always, Mac White. But today we yet again have a special guest star, Mr. Evan Jameson David.
That's not his middle name, is it?
It's
If that
not, but
is, that's a cool middle name.
but I appreciate it and thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and chat it up with the boys.
Yeah, uh we've had some other guests on that were somewhat timely, but we have not had a guest on yet that was like genuinely incredibly active and part of one of the biggest trades we've had in a while in ODL history. Right after he made the trade, obviously last week we had Adrian, where he's announcing he's going to make a trade, maybe eventually. But Evan, you just made a blockbuster trade. I don't have the whole thing up in front of me. What was your full trade?
I did, yeah. So Caleb and I made a deal. I believe it was during Thursday Night Football. I traded away Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, and Travis Kelce for a number of picks, being my own pick in 2026, your pick in 2026, John, Caleb's 2027 first, and then my second in 2026, and then just a throw in third in 2027. So, yeah, just like an onslaught of
Yeah.
picks for myself being the seller.
Yeah, and just so we can recap that in a very short fashion, that's five veteran players from Evan going back for three firsts, a second, and a third, which is a haul. Is it like there's no other way to put that? I think the only trade that's ever included three firsts in ODL history was me trading for Justin Jefferson.
Sounds about
Um,
right. Yeah.
and every other trade. I mean, we've had a lot of two first round pick trades, but this was not for one focal player either. I mean, Adams, Henry, Hill, Allen, Kelsey. I mean, 2 years from now, we could be viewing a lot of those guys in a very, very, very different light. And so the idea of getting off those guys now for what is clearly like, assuming you keep those picks, clearly young talent, seems like you're headed in a direction where you want to rebuild.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I'm in such a weird spot, with my roster, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But like, I had a mix of old and young, and even after I sold, I felt like, well, I'm not really even super bottom tier. I feel like I'm still going to be middle of the pack. So
Yeah.
just felt time, though. You're right. Those players, you never know what's going to happen. Tyreek Hill could have some debacle in his personal life that would throw him off the rails, and Derrick Henry could just fumble every game of the rest of the season. So you just don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. Derrick Henry currently averaging one fumble a game. So that's fun for my other leagues in which Derrick Henry is an active asset. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. You are still somehow, some way part of that middle pack, assuming Dallas's rookie class doesn't keep, scaling, scaling, scaling. I had someone text me this week and say, I feel like there's clearly a two-team top and clearly a two-team bottom. And then there's just like six guys in the middle where it's like two of these guys are going to miss the playoffs and everyone else, like, we're going to miss it or like we're going to make the playoffs, but we're not Matt or Mac.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think I remember like when Mac brought up the first betting props about Ethan making the playoffs. I was just thinking like, man, I take any one of those middling teams to make the playoffs for whatever it was. I don't know if it was like plus 600 or
Yeah.
whatever, but yeah, man, it's such like a indiscernible pack of teams, and anyone could come out on top just depending on whatever happens. And our league is so active in trading too
Mm-hmm.
that like you saw it, within the last couple weeks, like teams that are in the middle could like make moves to become, part of that upper echelon. So
Right.
yeah, really interesting.
Right. Mac, what do you think?
I had two thoughts on this trade for you, Evan. I really liked that you got two of your own picks back. So,
Mm,
like, you're giving up a lot of talent, but yeah, I think even with you giving up that talent, like you said, you're kind of in that mix for a playoff spot. So, I mean, like, I think the whole attitude of like have a roster good enough to win a title if things swing right, like put yourself in that position. while also setting yourself up for the future is really solid. But like if things do go poorly, like you got your own pick back. So like if you miss the playoffs, like at least you're not missing out on the lottery. So I think that was really good on you. Um, I don't know if that was intentional on your part, but like I feel like that would have been something I insisted on if I was trading with the guy who owned my picks.
I think so. And I think like the volume of the trade, I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't getting, something that was really valuable to me back, and getting those picks back, check that box off for me.
Yeah, when I saw this trade, so like right now I'm really actively investing. Like I'm in the market looking at stuff, and I think mutual funds are interesting because it's like a conglomeration of different like individual assets that fall under a certain category. And Caleb definitely got the old guy mutual fund. A lot of really solid old guys mixed into one package. So we'll see how that works out.
Absolutely true. And I've always said whenever you're making a trade that involves multiple firsts, if you have your own first, you're not really trading for just what the other person is sending you. You're also improving or, changing the value of the assets that you also own. So like going back to that Justin Jefferson trade I made all the way back when, like I wasn't just trading for Justin Jefferson. I was also intentionally bottoming out that season in the hopes of Marvin Harrison, which all things considered kind of swung my way. But getting your own pick back, that's just invaluable, especially if you're decreasing your own talent level. So, what led you to say that it's time to throw in the towel?
Yeah, great question. I think going 0-2 in the first couple weeks is never like great. I don't think it should be something that makes you blow up your entire team, but I felt like those players had a pretty good start. Like obviously Derrick Henry, I think, ran for like 170 week one, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams has been playing really well with Stafford. I've been thinking about selling these players for a while, and I was worried that there might be things that come along that derails their value, or even just brings them down to like from a first to a second round pick.
Sure.
And I'm the type of person that's always, I try to be sell high, buy low, and I just felt like it was probably the time. And then
Sure.
just back to the point that we had earlier with everyone in the middle kind of being in the running, like I knew that I could sell and still somewhat compete if I wanted to. But then getting the picks, it's like, well, if I don't want to, and maybe I need to sell off, or I end up sucking, then it works out either way.
Right.
So I felt comfortable doing that, and the solid pieces that I have for like the foundation of my team, Gibbs, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, it just makes me feel good about quote unquote rebuilding.
Sure. Now, some guys have gone out and made an acquisition, a player acquisition or 4 picks. And the guy who got picks, i.e. Caleb in this instance, turned around and immediately made a win now trade. Is there a win now trade coming from the band?
I would like to do that. I think if there's a possibility of that happening, I'm more than open to it. It's just so hard because of a lot of the guys that I would see myself going to buy if I'm trying to compete are the guys I just traded away, or they're already on competing rosters. It might feel weird to pull them away. Obviously, I'm in the mix for Bijan. At least I hope. I don't really know what's going on with that 100%, but
no one does.
Yeah, no one does, but that's okay, and it might be a possibility for my team. I'm walking around those hot coals carefully. So just trying to make sure that I don't sacrifice, the young talent that I have left for a potential of winning one year. Because I mean, keep in mind, I did win last year, right?
Right.
So to me, it feels like the next couple of years are free. So yeah,
sure.
I'm open to it. Open to it.
And it's interesting you said that. I was curious. I mean, one of the questions I had for you was, does winning a title last year, I mean, it sounds like you already answered it, but does winning a title last year like influence your thought process for the future? Like, is it kind of like, I got my title, like now I can kind of reset? Like, do you think you'd approach this year differently if you had lost in the playoffs last year?
Absolutely. I think I would have like held on to those players
Mm.
and just gone for it again. My problem is I've come in second a lot, just like Caleb, and it would have killed me to not win with like the solid core that I had, because I know that that team could win or go up against any other team, every week. Um, I guess the reason being that I sold this, it partially because I won, and not that like I'm concerned about the buy-in or think that it pays for itself, but it makes it feel like, well, I have a title, I have the opportunity now to just sell high. Why not?
I really like that logic. I think it's really easy to kind of do the opposite of what you're talking about, where you say like, "Hey, I just want a title. Clearly, this team can do it. Let's go do it again."
Yeah,
But the reality is, if you hang on to that for one season too long, and maybe this is the one season too long, but you hang on to that for one season too long, and all of a sudden you're like, I've got three assets that are under the age of 28 and, no draft capital. And I don't know how to get back in this because I'm going to have to sell everything I own just to get my own first back.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and so I think that you maybe earlier than I would have myself, but you identified something that's probably not a fun thing to self-identify and made a move while your assets were still high. I think that's wise. Assuming the Bijan thing doesn't swing your way, and it very well might, but let's assume for a second it doesn't. Who else on your roster is available?
that is a good question. I think I'm open to discussing pretty much everyone except Jameer Gibbs.
Sure.
It depends, right? If I like make a trade and I'm really bottom of the barrel, I don't think it makes sense for me to hold Jameer Gibbs. It feels like a similar situation that Adrian's in. Um, but I think I still have some interesting pieces, like if Calvin Ridley finds his stride with Cam Ward, and the stack of Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown are intriguing. I would assume to most. So I'm open to talking. Um, it's just, what do people want at this point? It feels like, man, it feels like we hit the trade deadline so early. Like pieces are just flying off the shelf. So
Yeah. Yeah, you are absolutely right there. I mean, I think we saw four trades this last week. There was Caleb trading Saquon away and then reacquiring all his pieces from you. And then there's Matt and Dallas trading uh, maybe garbage, maybe not. Um, Luther Burden certainly making a case that he's not garbage. And then I think there was another one sprinkled in there somewhere of just like guys selling the bag. And we're going into week 4. Um, it's just early.
And I have a theory.
Yeah.
Our pod has revitalized and revamped everybody's interest in trading.
Mm. We
I think it's our
are
pod.
we are ODL Ozempic. We're
I
getting
can
you
agree
back
with
to the
that.
weight that you need to be at.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
I wouldn't throw that one out again. I would keep that one. I'd probably just file that one away and then don't say again camp.
I will say
Ozempic?
though, you guys, when you brought up the trades, the hypotheticals to Adrian, it really got my gears grinded in my head, man. I was thinking like, okay, wait, maybe the proposed trade is actually something that I could build off of in our
Mm.
trade talks. So I think there's something there. Maybe not Ozempic worthy, but there's something
Sure.
Evan, it's really interesting hearing your thought process like regarding this trade because not to bring up my CMC trade for the millionth time, I'm sorry,
Mm.
but it was like one day I just woke up and it was just like I just need to trade him. He's at an all-time high.
there.
My team is aging. Like we're both in really good spots, but it's like how can things look, 12 to 18 months from now if things don't go well? And it's like it could get grim really quick. And like that was my whole motivation behind trading CMC. People were like, why are you doing that? It's like, well, like I gotta get younger and CMC's value is like really great now. So like hearing through your, listening to your thought process and just where you're at just reminded me of kind of what I was thinking holding on to him
Yeah,
when I had him.
man, I will say that though, like you got max value for CMC. We all know that. And it was the right time to do it. But I think the thing for me that struck me like, okay, I probably maybe now is the time is I tried to trade Travis Kelsey to a few different people and I got some interest, but like the most that I was getting back maybe was like a third round pick. And obviously, like everyone that I traded away isn't Travis Kelsey and wasn't at his value, but how quickly he just like tanked
Yeah.
in dynasty value, I think kind of, kicked me in the butt and said it's time to make a move.
Sure. So again, assuming you're not getting Bijan, assuming that that's off the table at this point, is there anyone that you're targeting in this upcoming draft class? Like, did you do any research on that before you decided to buy heavy into this next draft?
Not really. I know that 2027 is supposedly a little bit better than 2026. But I knew that there was a possibility that I might send those picks away.
Sure.
And I know that they hold, somewhat decent value. I think it was more so trading 4 picks during the season. And maybe when we get closer to the draft, those picks will gain in value and um, that's where I'll come out on top for the trade.
Sure. Sure. I did a quick Google search before we started. And the big name in this upcoming draft is Jeremiah Love.
Yep.
Think of him more Ashton Genty than Bijan Robinson but a really, really, really solid running back out of Notre Dame that we've seen coming for a number of years. And outside of that, not a ton to necessarily write home about at this time. We're like 4 weeks into the college season. You never know. But that's really the crown jewel of this upcoming draft. But as you said, 2027 already, like both in the quarterback market and in the receiver market, it's starting to look real good.
Yeah, I think it's like a great time for rebuilding teams to build that strategy. Like I think Adrian, depending on what type of haul he gets, will be in a really, really good spot if he can gain some capital and not only this draft but 2027.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype around that draft class.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, as an Ohio State fan who gets to watch Jeremiah Smith every week, it's just like this guy would be a top 10-ish wide receiver right now. And I was saying that when he was 18. Like it's just a genuinely unreal talent. But okay. I think we've talked this trade all the way through. Mac, do you have any other thoughts on it?
No, I'm good.
So, Evan, as things stand in the Offs Dynasty League right now, if you had to put money on one team winning it all, where would you put your money?
Man, knowing what I know about this potential Bijan trade, and where I think he might go, other than my team, I would probably put my money on Mac to win it all.
Ooh. Yeah, that's going to
know
break
that
the
I
league.
don't know, Evan?
I have just heard from some birdies that you're in the mix potentially, and I like your team, man. I really like your team. We don't have to talk about the travesty that was the Amon-Ra Rashad Bateman trade.
You brought it up, not me.
I did, yeah. Maybe I'm still bitter about it, but your team's just really good, man. Like top to bottom. I think you could, use maybe a little bit more depth. So could everyone, but you're so strong, and like your team's in their prime. Like great young dynasty players. I think you have a good chance to take it home.
Hope you're right.
Sure. All right. Opposite question. This one might make you a little bit less popular. If you had to pick the lottery teams right now, who would you pick?
Lottery teams. I'd probably go obviously Adrian. I think I would go Dallas.
Okay.
Myself and Tyler. I think that one might be a little bit unpopular.
Okay. I don't know if that would necessarily buck consensus. Obviously, I'm not very high on Ethan's situation, but given how things have swung this last week, I don't know if that's a bad lineup. What do you think, Matt?
Has doubled his projected win total from you. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I did not know that.
He has 2 wins already.
There we go. Yeah,
I
clearly I was way too low on Ethan's team. And I went back and listened to that first podcast again, and I was like, I said Adrian is building an irrefutable stable of horses. And I saw Mac raise both eyebrows across the room. And I think I need to eat crow on that one publicly. He has not done that. So Ethan has already proved me wrong. Sorry, Ethan.
I mean, you're not 100% wrong. I think there's a lot of ways that team could go. Just with like looking at GT, like how the Raiders utilize him and the type
Yeah.
of yardage he's getting. I saw a stat somewhere today that was like percentage of yards that the running back has gained after they've been touched. And GT was like 101% of his yardage total. And so that to me is like, huge red flag. But I think it'll get better there, and he's got a lot of young pieces. So, to me, that roster just feels better to bet on than Tyler's. I think
Some of
that's
the
the
others.
coin flip. Yeah.
Sure. But all right, I got one last question, unless Mac has anything else.
We might have the same question because I think we've asked this every pod. But Evan, at this point, you've got a lot of capital coming in. But what does a successful season look like for you?
I think a successful season. I think it would probably be like making the playoffs. If we're talking about the generic definition of success,
Mhm.
I'm still so in between on what might happen with my team that the the flip side of that coin would be get a great lottery pick. Um,
Sure.
so I think I'm just open to whatever may happen. I think I'm in a good spot. So excited to
Sure.
see what the future looks like.
So
It's
the
one of those.
nightmare scenario is like pick four.
Yeah, nightmare scenario would be like barely missing out on the playoffs and then getting pick four. Yeah.
Okay.
Or making a trade, trading away draft picks and trying to make the playoffs and missing the playoffs. That would be
Sure.
catastrophe.
Sure. That
But I
makes
think
sense.
this actually is. I think this actually is one of those rare win-win-win scenarios.
Mm.
I think you're right. I think you're 100% right.
I love just no context to that one.
We know. We all know. ODL.
Love it. Okay, I'm gonna end it on this. You mentioned earlier if you end up trading and trading and trading, and then you just have that one guy that you've deemed untouchable with Jahmyr Gibbs. What would it take to get Jahmyr Gibbs off your roster if you did decide it was time to trade him?
Oh, man, I'm such a homer. I don't know, but I'm like, I think I've this year especially I've become a little bit more realistic about my dynasty teams and like making sure that I'm getting ample value. From what I'm hearing about what Adrian might get, um, it would probably take like the equivalent of 4 first round picks.
Mm,
Not all like, high end top tier lottery picks, but somewhere in that like middling first round pick range. Yeah, and if we're talking players, maybe like a solid stud wide receiver one, like a complimentary wide receiver, and a pick, or something of that sort. But I just really don't see myself trading. Hey, if you want to give me 4 first round picks or maybe more, feel free to reach out and maybe we can come to a deal.
you
Maybe.
heard it here first. If your Bijan Robinson trade does not go through, pivot directly to Evan and just send the exact same offer to him. But okay, so just feeling that one out, like a top 15-ish receiver, 2 first and a second would probably do it for you.
If I were looking to move him, yeah, that's
Sure.
probably somewhere in the realm of what I was looking for.
Sure. So, all right, Evan, it's been great having you. Appreciate you swinging on. Appreciate when we see you in the group chat. You're definitely not as elusive as some, but every now and then it feels like a little bit of a Bigfoot sighting to be like, hey, there's Evan David on a Tuesday.
Fair enough. No, I appreciate you having me on and just getting to chat about it. Sometimes like life gets busy and there's a lot of things going on, especially as we're going into, the end of the year, but
Mhm.
always enjoy like getting to talk with you guys and seeing the group chat buzzing, it's a great part of my week for sure.
Absolutely. ODL
Evan,
Summit, baby.
One last question here. Yeah, ODL Summit. Let's get it done. I want to hear your prediction for when Bijan will get traded, if Bijan is traded. Give us a time and a day.
Time of the day. I'm gonna say he doesn't go tomorrow. I think if he goes, it will be like before Thursday night football. So probably Thursday, like around 5, 6 p.m.
Okay. I love how Adrian trading Bijan has turned into like this like pregnancy baby pool thing where we're all like, what's it gonna, is it gonna happen? What's it gonna happen? What
If you
It's a
introduce some
girl.
odds into your betting corner, maybe I'll partake.
that one's way too easy way too easy of a market to manipulate. Way too easy.
Oh man, taking open bets on when Adrian's going to trade, and suddenly like Caleb jumps in and he's like, "I'll bet $7,000 that he gets moved in the next 5 minutes." But
Yeah.
all right, Mr. David, thank you so much for being on. Look forward to a great season.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. So we're going to address the remaining 3 trades. Big shout out to Evan. Great job. Always nice to hear from him. And obviously he had the big trade this week. But the remaining, Dallas sent Matt, Isaiah Pacheco, Luther Burden, Tank Dell, and Matt's 27 third-round pick for Stephon Diggs, Jerry Jeudy, and Matt's 26 second-round pick. At first, I was kind of very on Matt's side of this, but the more I thought about this, like, this is a lot of pieces that are probably not going to have awesome remainders of their NFL career beyond this season, if even this season, for a lot of guys who are kind of flaming out pretty hard. So really, this is like Dallas sending a second for a third and the hope that Pacheco, Burden, or Dell are relevant for more than 2 seasons, which Burden had a great week. And Dell is good if he's healthy, which he never is, but there's a lot of room for this to pan out in Dallas's favor, but I think this is just kind of a wash.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I felt it made sense for both teams. I think I felt it was a wash, but I was getting a lot of pushback from people who kind of confused what Dallas was doing. Felt like didn't really make much sense. Felt like he was giving up a lot of win now talent for not much return. But I think we've seen time and time again how difficult it is to move a guy like Stephon Diggs in a league, in a dynasty league. What was the other? Stephon Diggs. What was the other piece?
Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, those guys are hard to move. Just everybody. I mean, just even if they're good, it's just hard to get back decent returns. So,
it's 2 guys the jury's out on.
Yeah, I mean, their careers could. I mean, they could have very limited, like you said, very limited fantasy value even just next year. But yeah, I mean, I think Burden could still be awesome if DJ Moore leaves in free agency, like or wherever. I mean, I think he could be, the number 2 on an awesome offense just as soon as next year. And I think I might not be keeping up with the Tank Dell news as much as others. I kind of thought he's been injured, but like there's nothing stopping him from coming back and being close to the guy he was. And the guy he was is somebody that was really good in his first 2 years. So
yeah,
I think there's been crazier things than him coming back from a couple injuries. But maybe I'm understating how big of a factor that will be in his value.
I might be talking without all the information here. My understanding was Tank Dell's injury was one where it was kind of like the Tua injury in a different way, where it's like you should probably just be done.
Okay.
But who knows? And obviously, like no one has come in and filled the role that he left behind.
No, they're a mess.
So if he does come back and he is 100% somehow, then they would appreciate him.
Yeah.
All right, the next
thing. Sorry, one more thought on this trade. I don't really know why Dallas traded for Pacheco. I'd love to ask him that in person. I don't know if he explained that, but that was the only thing. I was kind of like, why? Why would he do that? That was confusing.
I talked to Dallas. Basically, his thought is he has no room to be competitive this year. Like he just knows he has a bottom three roster, and so he likes Pacheco. He thinks Pacheco will bounce back and then have value, and he still believes in him. But the reality is, like, I think the other two guys in that trade were a little bit more towards the top of what he was trying to get. So the next trade, Caleb traded to the Tots Cooper Cup, Tyler's 2026 third for John's my 2026 second and Will's 2026 third. In the year of our Lord 2025, I did not think Cooper Cup still had a second round value attached to him. But honestly, if you've looked at what he's done, I mean, he's good for like a low teens performance, which is not nothing. So
I think Caleb just wanted to add another old guy to his old guy army.
I think
Although
no,
that came
he was sending
before.
out Cooper Cup.
Oh,
He's
he
getting rid
sent
of him.
out Cooper Cup. Oh, okay. Never mind.
So
I mean,
he was
not.
loading
I
up on
mean,
draft capital.
late second feels about right for Cooper Cup, I suppose.
Sure. That's
Not much to
optimistic
say.
about where my second's going to be based on this last week, but
That's true.
I mean, it's kind of a wash again. It's just a very down the middle trade, like maybe a little bit more than I would have given up for Cooper Cup myself. However, it's not like horrendous value.
Sure.
But the one that actually matters, the one that we wanted to save actual time for, is Will sending out Jordan Addison, Evan's 2026 first, my 2026 first, Tyler's 2026 third for Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Swift, and my 2026 second. I jokingly said I feel like I'm part of this trade too because of how many of my assets were flying around in this. So my thought is this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This is one of those where it's like, why is Caleb giving up on the season? And then you turn around and realize he's not.
Yeah. In the moment when I saw this trade go through, I mean, I didn't go after Caleb, but I was a little confused. I don't think he had the trade queued up with Evan yet. But this trade that trade, the big trade we talked about already with Evan, I think makes this trade make sense. I think converting Saquon into, all these really good, still awesome older players makes sense for Caleb. I think it's a good win now move. And I think he got good value if you look, at both trades as one. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad return. I just didn't think it made sense. But then, he went around and turned it into a bunch of older assets and his team looks awesome. So, I think looking at those two trades as a whole makes perfect sense.
Sure. Yeah, I think, again, this is one that you have to look at the whole of it. But genuinely, I like this for Caleb when you look at it from that perspective. I also like it for Will. I think that he got the ultimate win now piece. And I think that that's not a bad thing for him.
Are you nervous at all about Saquon this year? He's not really doing Saquon things.
He's not doing what he did, but I think there's reason to believe that that will change just because he's Saquon. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's kind of like Christian McCaffrey, where it's like, well, is he going to come back from this leg injury? Oh, of course he is, because he's Christian McCaffrey. Like Saquon just kind of always finds his way back to awesome.
Sure.
But okay, that's our thoughts on the trades this week. Real quick hitters as far as what we think is going to happen this week. Mac, you caught back up to me.
And we are tied.
You went 4-1 this last week. But we are.
I'll go first this week, John. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Before we do that, the computer projects Mac over me. It projects Matt over Tyler. It projects Will over Dallas. It projects Evan over Adrian. And it projects Caleb over Ethan. But that is the closest matchup by far, is Caleb and Ethan.
Yeah. There's some good ones. Our matchup would have been awesome if
my roster was healthy
by the injury bug. Yeah. So I will take me over you this week with those injuries in mind. I will take Matt, going chalk. I'll take Will. I will take Evan. And I got to go with Caleb. I'm going straight chalk this week. I don't see any upsets. I'm sure there will be. I just don't know which one it'll be. So
You know what? I actually had the exact same thing. So for the sake of being different, I think I'm going to say Ethan over Caleb and just fully admit that I was wrong about Ethan.
oh yes, I love the full circle. I love that.
I was just wrong. That's okay. That's okay to say sometimes. So yeah, those are our picks. We only have one difference this week, and honestly, it's just to break a tie. So we'll see. Someone's going to be in the lead again this next week. But all right, Mac, do you have anything else to say to the audience?
No, go
All right.
Swats.
Excited to see where we go. Excited to see if Bijan ever gets moved. Excited to see what trade comes next. And as always, let the best man win.